Hi everyone, it is Amy from Curious Papaya, and I am so excited to share with you that I now have a full tutorial for Gertrude the Grumpy Chick. If you've been following me for a while, you might remember that she first debuted around spring of 2021 for a crochet along. I was still relatively new as a designer back then, and I cannot thank you enough for all the love that you showed our little girl here. Now this tutorial is meant to be as beginner friendly as possible, and the nice thing is I will be introducing a few new techniques and walk you through every single step. Without further ado, let's get started. Here is everything that you will need to make our grumpy chick, and you can hit pause. I'll also include a full list of everything in the description. We're going to start round one by making a magic circle. You can follow along my slower tutorial if you'd like, or just go ahead and work a magic circle with me. So I'm going to take the yarn tail in my left hand and wrap it around my two fingers, making an X. And then using my hook, I'm going to go under the first loop and grab the top loop and bring that out. And then I'm going to wrap my finger around the working yarn, which is the yarn that's connected to the ball, and create a chain one. Now I'm going to work my first single crochet into the circle, and I'm using yarn under method, which will create X-shaped stitches. So that's my first single crochet, and just be careful with this kind of cotton yarn. It's easy for the yarn to separate. So this will be my second, and then my third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. And you can double check your stitch count by counting the V's on the side. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go ahead and pull your magic circle closed. And we're ready for round two. Round two, we're gonna be working in a spiral, so you're just gonna keep going around and around. I've just grabbed a scrap piece of yarn in a different color, and this is going to be our stitch marker. So round two says to increase all around, increase 6 times. So let's go into the first stitch, and let me move this out of the way. Single crochet once, and then into the same stitch, single crochet again. That's our first increase. And do that again. Make 1 single crochet and a second in the same stitch. That's our second increase. And do that again. Another increase. Another increase, and this is that's our 5th increase, and then we have 1 more. That's 6 increases. We should have a total of 12 stitches, so let's go ahead and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, let's move on to round 3. So there are a lot of ways that you can keep track of your stitch count as you work, so you don't have to keep on stopping and double checking your count manually. And that is to count as you are working. So we know that round 3, we're gonna do single crochet, increase a total of 6 times, and we want our stitch count to be 18. You can think of it as counting by multiples of 3 6 times. So 3 times 6 would give you 18. So let's try that out. So our first single crochet counts as 1, and then our first increase counts as 2 and 3. And you can think of it as the multiples of 3 for round 3 being the number 3 and then the number before it when you're counting. So it'd be 1 and then 2 and 3. That's your increase. So if we're doing that again, we continue with 4, and then the multiple of 3 is 6. So we would do 5 and 6 as our increase. So this is where our multiplication table comes in handy. Now we go on to the next 7, and then the next multiple of 3 is 8 and 9. 9 being the multiple. And then go on 10. And the next multiple of 3 being 12. So 11 and 12, that's our increase. Then 13. Then our next multiple of 3, which is 15. So we have 14 and 15. Okay, 16. And then we end on 17 and 18. And the nice thing is we are back at our stitch marker, so there is no need to stop and double check to count. We know that we ended on 18 right there. Round 4, we are going to single crochet, increase, and single crochet a total of 6 times. That'll bring our stitch count up to 24. You could also think of it as 2 single crochet stitches and an increase, and then to repeat that 6 times. But the reason why I like to spread it out and split the 2 single crochets is so that our increases don't stack on top of each other. It'll make a rounder circle rather than like a more hexagonal one. So that's a helpful tip you can use when making other amigurumi. So single crochet, increase, and single crochet. And repeat that again. Single crochet, increase, single crochet, single crochet, increase, single crochet. I'm going to pause here. Now at this point, some of your pieces may be starting to form like a cup or like a bowl shape, and you might find yourself like crocheting on the far end of the bowl, and it's a lot harder to stick your hook into your stitches. And the reason for that is because you need to pull your stitches up away from the bowl a little more. Now that's going to create a lot prettier X-shaped stitch definition, and also make sure that your piece is right side out. So a quick trick is look at the tail from your magic circle. You can treat this like the noodle. And you want to keep the noodle inside of the bowl. Our bowl is pretty shallow right now, but you get the idea. If it's on the outside, well, then your noodle is outside of the bowl. I've also heard people say, like, keep the toilet paper in the toilet. And I like that one a lot. You'll never forget that. All right, so continuing, we'll do a single crochet, increase, and single crochet. All right, single crochet, increase, single crochet, single crochet, increase, single crochet. All right. We know we ended with the right stitch count of 24 because we are back to where our stitch marker starts. I think I may have forgotten to wrap my stitch marker back the previous round, and that's okay because we're still aligned here. So that's the nice thing. It's very forgiving. And you don't have to deal with unbuckling the clasp and all that when you're using a traditional stitch marker. Round 5, 3 single crochet, increase a total of 6 times to bring our stitch count up to 30. We can treat this as counting multiples of 5 since it's 3 single crochet plus an increase, which is 2 stitches. So let's try that. So we've got our first single crochet, 1, 2, 3, and then 4 and 5, that's our increase. 6, 7, 8, and then 9 and 10, another increase. So we're counting 5, 10, 15, 20. So 11, 12, 13, and then increase 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. That's another increase. 21, 22, 23, and an increase 24, 25. And our last increment here, 26, 27, 28, and 29 and 30 will be our last increase. And we end with 30 stitches. So you can pause and take a look at your piece at this point. You can see mine is very flat, and that is because we were pulling up each of our single crochet stitches, making them nice and even. You can see there are little gaps between each of the stitches, so it's nice and tight. And just a little trick when working with amigurumi, you don't have to break your fingers to get the right tension. Too many times I see like other crocheters like come out with like yarn burn or, you know, really bad joint pain because of how tightly they're gripping onto their yarn. So just make sure you are sizing down with your crochet hook. I've seen other crocheters use like a 4mm hook with the exact same yarn, and think about it, you're going to have to grip a lot tighter to make sure there are no gaps by using a hook that large. Round 6. So it'll be 2 single crochet, increase, 2 single crochet, a total of 6 times. And that's gonna bring our stitch count up to 36. You can also think of it again as 4 single crochet stitches and an increase over and over. We're splitting up that 4 single crochet. So, oops, let me backtrack and wrap my stitch marker around. Okay, so we got 2 single crochet stitches and then an increase and another 2. Okay, 2 single crochet and an increase and another 2. 2 single crochet, increase, and another 2, 2 single crochet, increase, and another 2, 2 single crochet, increase, and another 2. Oops. 2 single crochet, increase, and our last 2 single crochet stitches. We're back at that stitch marker right before it. And so now we have 36 stitches. This is the fun part. Rounds 7 through 10 are going to be single crochet all around, and we're going to do that for 4 rounds. So I'm going to wrap my stitch marker around, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. We're going to get like a cup shape now, and pause the video and meet me back when you are finished. Welcome back. We just completed rounds 7 through 10, 4 rounds of single crocheting all around, and now we're ready for round 11. You should have this beautiful bowl shape, and double check to make sure that the center yarn tail from the magic circle is in the inside of your bowl. You can think of it as like a little noodle, keep it inside the bowl. That's how you'll make sure that the right side of your stitches is facing out. So I'm gonna wrap around my stitch marker here, this little contrast piece of yarn, and we're gonna move on to round 11. Round 11, we're going to make 4 increases, 10 single crochet stitches, 4 increases again, and then 18 single crochet stitches. That will bring our stitch count from 36 to 44. Let's get started. Okay, so I'm gonna make my first increase. So 2 single crochet stitches in the same stitch. That's my second one. My third, and my fourth. So total, we have 8 stitches so far. And what this is going to do is make the cute little chubby cheeks of Gertrude's face. 10 single crochet stitches in between each of the cheeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's do another 4 increases. Our first increase, second, third, and our fourth. Now we do 18 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. And now we have 44 stitches. Round 12, we will single crochet all around. So pause the video and meet me back when you are finished. We now have 44 stitches all the way around. Round 13. For round 13, we will make 20 single crochet stitches and decrease. We'll do that increment 2 times. And that'll bring our stitch count down to 42. Let's get started. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. The decrease is going to kind of overlap where the cheeks jut out, and that's so that it'll bring it in, make it look extra chubby. Another 20 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and our last decrease, which I always do yarning over for, and we now have 42 stitches. Round 14, let me just wrap the yarn over this way before I begin, calls for us doing 5 single crochet, decrease a total of 6 times around. That'll bring our stitch count from 42 to 36. We're just decreasing by increments of 6 at this point. So let's go ahead and start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, decrease. That'll kind of be our 6th and 7th stitch. You can think of it as counting in multiples of 7, and every 7th stitch and the stitch before it will be a decrease. Some people's brains work better that way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and another decrease. Front loops only. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, decrease. 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 All right. We now have 36 stitches, and moving on to round 15. Round 15, we'll be doing 4 single crochet and decrease, but so that our decreases don't stack on top of each other, creating a really gappy texture, we're gonna split the 4 in half. So we're gonna do 2 single crochet, decrease, 2 single crochet. We'll repeat that 6 times and bring our stitch count from 36 to 30. So wrapping my stitch marker up to the front, giving it a little more length there. Okay, so 2 single crochet, 1, 2, then decrease. And then another 1, 2. Okay, pull my yarn a bit. So repeat that sequence. 1, 2, decrease. 1, 2. Repeat. 1, 2, decrease. 1, 2. Repeat. 1, 2, decrease. And 1, 2. Repeat. 1, 2, decrease. 1, 2. Repeat. 1, 2, decrease. And our last 2 single crochet stitches, and we're finished. Our stitch count is now 30, and moving on to round 16. Round 16, we'll make 3 single crochet, decrease all the way around 6 times to bring our stitch count from 30 to 24. We are decreasing essentially by 6 again. So let's count out. 1, 2, 3, decrease. Repeat. 1, 2, 3, decrease. 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 And now we have 24 stitches. Round 17, it's going to be 2 single crochet, decrease all the way around, but again, we're going to split the 2 single crochet in half. So we'll make single crochet, decrease, single crochet. We'll do that 6 times around to bring our stitch count down to 18. So single crochet, and let me just wrap my stitch marker in the front. So that's 1, then decrease, and single crochet, repeat. So 1, decrease, 1, again, 1, decrease, and 1. Tug on my yarn, 1, decrease, 1, 1, decrease, 1. One, decrease, 1. Okay. At this point, we're going to attach our safety eyes between rounds 10 and 11, 7 stitches apart. So let's make sure that we are looking at the front of our face here. And we will know because the start of our round will be on the left side. You can kind of see where the 2 little cheeks are sticking out. So be careful not to do the back side of the head. And if you want to just double check real quick, you can see that the back side, the cheeks are kind of far back. We want them to be in the front of the face. So we're going to count from the very center of our magic circle. And this is round 1, round 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So it's going to be between these 2 rounds right here. So I'm going to find my center, just looking at the cheeks for reference. If it helps, you can also place a sewing needle for the time being so you can keep yourself centered. And then we're going to count 7 stitches apart. So from this side, 1, 2, 3. Let me do that. And always double check before inserting the backings, including the stitch that the eye is in right now. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this other eye would be right there. Okay. And I'm going to just double check real quick again, looking at it from different angles to make sure that it is in correctly. The way I like to do it is to flip it around at different angles, just making sure that everything is symmetrical. So here the cheeks are evenly spaced, which looks good. So I'm happy with the placement. They're in the same line. Don't make the mistake of putting one slightly above or you'll have a really wonky looking chick, but maybe that's what you want to. So I'm going to place the backings in, remove my pin. Okay, I will fully disclose that since my plushies are not for little babies, I actually like to glue my eyes in at the very end. That way I can make sure that everything is positioned correctly after the head has been stuffed. But I am demonstrating in this tutorial how to attach them as you work. Okay, so now we can go ahead and move on to round 18. I'm going to remove my stitch marker and start fresh. Round 18 is where the body begins, and we will be working in the front loops only. We're going to increase all the way around, so 18 times to bring our stitch count up to 36. So we'll be working in the front loops only, which means the loop that is closer to you. If you're looking at the top where it looks like a V shape, this is the back loop and this is the front loop. So let's make an increase, which is 2 single crochet stitches in 1 stitch. That's 1 increase. Let's make the next. That's 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 9, 10. Oops. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, a little fluffy made its way in there, and our 18th increase. Okay, if we pause over here and take a look, you can see that it's starting to jut out like an edge, almost like a balloon, and that's because we worked in the front loops only. So that's going to make the body come out nice and round. One thing we need to do is stuff our head now that our eyes have been inserted. So I'm just going to take a little bit of stuffing at a time and fill it in there. Make sure that you use your finger to fill out the cheeks really well. The way that you stuff your amigurumi can really make or break your project. I remember for my first few projects, I severely understuffed it, and so it ended up being pretty wonky looking. On the other hand, then the following amigurumi pieces I used cotton yarn with were overstuffed, and then all of a sudden my amigurumi was super gappy, and I was like, oh, it's such a learning curve. It really depends on what material you're using. So feel it out, work little at a time. And as you can see here, our head is taking shape beautifully. For round 19, we're gonna single crochet all the way around. So pause the video here and meet me back when you're done. Round 20. Round 20, we'll make 5 single crochet stitches increase, a total of 6 times, bringing our stitch count from 36 to 42. So now we're increasing by increments of 6 again, and let's go ahead and get started. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Increase, so make 2 single crochet stitches in the same stitch and repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, increase. 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 We now have 42 stitches. Rounds 21 and 22 will be single crochet all around, and so I'll pause the video here and meet me back when you are finished. We are back. Now we are going to start round 23, and for that we will make 5 single crochet stitches and decrease a total of 6 times, bringing our stitch count from 42 to 36. So now we're working our body down to close it up at the end. So 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, oopsies. I always like to go back and make sure I fix the part if the yarn tends to snag. And then decrease. Okay, repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, decrease. 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 And our last increment, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, decrease. And now we have 36 stitches. Round 24 will be 4 single crochet decrease, a total of 6 times. And again, we're going to split the 4 in half. So we'll make 2 single crochet, decrease, 2 single crochet. Okay. 1, 2, decrease. 1, 2. Repeat. 1, 2, decrease. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2, decrease. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2, decrease. 1, 2. 1, 2, decrease. 1, 2. 1, 2, decrease. 1, 2. All right, and now we have 30 stitches. Bring your stitch marker over, and for round 25, we will make 3 single crochet stitches decrease, bringing our stitch count from 30 to not 40, to 24. Okay, so let's do 3 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, decrease. All right. 1, oops, 2, 3, decrease. 1, 2, 3, decrease. 1, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, decrease, and our last increment, 1, 2, 3, decrease. Okay, we now have 24 stitches. Round 26, it's going to be 2 single crochet decrease, and again we're going to split the 2 in half, so it's single crochet, decrease, single crochet. We'll do that 6 times and go from 24 stitches to 18. So 1, decrease, and 1. Repeat. 1, decrease, 1. Repeat. 1, decrease, 1. Again. 1, decrease, 1. 1, decrease, 1. 1, decrease, 1. Oopsies. Okay, now we have 18 stitches. Bring your yarn marker over. Round 27, our last round of the body. We're going to do single crochet decrease around 6 times, and that will leave us with 12 stitches at the end. 1, decrease, and repeat. 1, decrease, 1. I should say single crochet decrease. It's just more of a mouthful. Single crochet decrease, single crochet decrease, single crochet and decrease. Okay. So at this point, we're going to slip stitch into the first stitch and pull up a tail for sewing our hole closed. So I'm gonna leave about maybe 8 inches. So this is 4 inches one way. It's a generous 4 inches. And this way we'll have plenty to work with. Okay, let's stuff out our head one more time, just making sure that all the stuffing, it doesn't move. And then let's add stuffing to the body. What I like to do is I like to rotate my piece and stuff a little at a time just to make sure that I'm doing it evenly. Okay, a little more. Okay, and this I think will be the last bit of stuffing I can fit in there. Perfect. To close up our piece, you're going to need your yarn needle. And I can go ahead and remove our stitch marker here. So easy. We'll save that for later. And we will sew through the front loops only all around to close the hole. So again, the front loop is the loop closer to you when you're looking for the V shape at the edge. And just make sure that you go through the front loop all the way around. Most amigurumi that you will make works up in increments of 6. and you will most likely end your last round with 6. But the reason why I'm ending with 12 is actually so that it'll have a flatter bottom. We want Gertrude to have a nice bum to sit on so she doesn't topple over, which is what happens if your bottom is too round. Okay, and you can kind of see how it gets easier the more that you work it. All right, I'm at the beginning again. This is the fun part. You get to tug it closed, like so. Looking at it from the side, you can see that instead of going in a rounded shape, it's like kind of flat across, and that creates like a really chibi kind of body. So go ahead and weave back into the center and weave around the body a few times, making sure that the tail is nice and buried in there. Okay. When I cut my tail close, I'm going to pull up just ever so slightly and then cut close to the surface. And as you can see, the yarn tail just got slurped back into the body and you can't see it anymore. That concludes our head and body. Let's move on to the wings. We will be making 2 cute little wings for Gertrude the grumpy chick. So let's begin by making a slip knot. So bring your yarn over to make a loop and then feed the yarn through the loop and pull this part up. Then go ahead and tug. That's going to create a slip knot. Okay. Insert your hook into the loop and then just tighten it. And now we're going to chain 5. To chain, we're going to hold on to the shorter tail with our middle finger and our thumb, like so. Make sure that your tension is nice and tight around your index finger. And we're going to wrap the yarn over our hook and pull through the existing loop. So that's 1 chain right there. Let's do that 4 more times. 2, 3, 4, 5. If you feel like your yarn is snagging through, chances are your hook and your tension are too tight and the hole's too tiny to get through. So just loosen up and try again. After we've chained 5, we're going to start in the second chain from the hook and single crochet into the next 4 stitches. So this is the first chain from the hook and this is the second. So go into that, in other words, just one side of the V shape. Then we're going to make a single crochet in this one and then make a single crochet down the rest of the chains. This is 2, 3, and 4. You'll know you're at the end because you'll see the little knot of where we made the slip knot. And now we're going to work along the bottom of the chain. So to work on the bottom of the chain, that's just the other side of the chain that we didn't work into. So turn your work around and then single crochet into the next 4 stitches. So this one might be hard to see, but this is the first stitch. Okay, second stitch is next to it. Oops, make sure not to snag your yarn. Third and fourth. Okay. Now we should have 8 stitches all the way around, and rounds 2 and 3, we will single crochet all the way around. So again, I'm going to use my yarn stitch marker here, and this will tell me when I have completed the round. So single crochet into every stitch around for the next 2 rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And now you can see it's starting to take shape. So go ahead and do that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we have completed rounds 2 and 3. Let's move on to round 4. Round 4, we will make 2 single crochet, decrease twice. So our stitch count will be brought down to 6. So wrapping this around the other way, let's do 2 single crochets. 1, 2, decrease. Okay, and I'm moving the tails behind my work as I rotate around. 1, 2, and decrease. Okay, 6 stitches now. So now we have round 5, single crochet all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, slip stitch into the first stitch to fasten off, and I'm going to pull up a tail for sewing. And we can also remove our stitch marker. And you might have the little tail from the beginning slip knot still sticking out. And what I like to do is just tug it really nicely, cut it a bit shorter, and you can tuck the rest remaining into the wing. We will not be stuffing them, and the wings will just be completed just like that. So make a second one, and then meet me back when you are done. Here are our 2 lovely wings. Let's move on to the feet. We're going to make 2 feet with orange yarn, and for the feet it's helpful to have an actual interlocking stitch marker. So start off by making a slip knot and inserting your hook, pull it tight, chain 2, and slip stitch into the second chain from the hook. So this is our first one, and this is the second one. So pull that through. Then we're going to add a stitch marker in this little hole right here, because this is going to be the back of the foot. We're going to make 3 toes next, and so this way we can keep track of how many we have. And now for each of the toes, we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, then single crochet into the second chain from the hook. That would be this one here. And then you're going to slip stitch into the back of the foot. So this stitch right here that's marked with the stitch marker, slip stitch back in there. You might just need to tighten it up a bit if it starts to come loose again. And then we're going to repeat that step to make the other 2 toes. So again, chain 2, single crochet into the second chain from the hook, and then slip stitch back into this marked stitch. Okay, now we have 2 little toes. This is the back of the foot, and we'll do it one more time. So chain 2, single crochet into the second chain from the hook, and slip stitch back into the marked stitch. Okay, now we have our back of the foot and the 3 little toes. So let's pull up a tail for sewing and cut that short. And I'll remove the stitch marker so you can see the shape of the foot. So that's what it will look like once it is finished. You've got 3 little cute toes. Let's make a second foot. So pause and meet me back when you are finished. Our 2 feet are finished. Okay, so before I work on my invisible finish, I'm actually just gonna weave this short little tail over to the back of the beak. That way it won't get in our way and I can demonstrate a little clearer. Okay. All right, so for the invisible finish, we're going to skip the stitch that is next to the stitch that we just came out of. And then we're gonna work into this stitch over. So from the back side, insert your hook, and we're gonna bring the yarn tail through, and that is gonna create one side of the faux stitch. So to complete it, we're gonna go into the stitch that our yarn tail came out of. So right here, it might be a little hard to see. And then we're going to go in the back loop only, and then yarn over and pull that loop through. And that's gonna complete our faux stitch. So I'll place my hook underneath the faux stitch that we just made right here. And this is so that the edge is nice and even. Let me open it up a bit. Once I tug on that, it becomes nice and tight. And now our beak is complete. We're gonna weave this yarn tail to the back of the beak as well, because this is what we're gonna use to sew it onto the face. All right, so there we have our completed beak. Now we get to move on to the fun part, which is making the hat. For the hat, I've switched out my 2.75 millimeter hook to my 3.5 size, and we're gonna be using 2 strands of yarn at the same time. There's nothing else that's different with crocheting other than that. I highly recommend you not to skip out on using 2 strands of yarn at the same time, because your hat will come out like a bonnet instead of a hat. It's gonna sit on the very tip top of the head, and that's not what we want. So using 2 strands of yarn, I'm using white and beige here to create a really pretty kind of like wicker texture for the hat. We're gonna make a magic circle and single crochet 6 into the loop. So let me pull up my yarn, and I'm gonna create that first knot and then my first single crochet. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, and you can already see how pretty the colors look when they are worked together like this. And so pull your ring closed. Okay, now I'm gonna grab my stitch marker and let's move on to round 2. For round 2, we will increase all around to bring our stitch count from 6 to 12. And for this round, I'm gonna crochet over my shorter tails from the magic circle, and I'll show you how I do that. So for the first increase, insert your hook, and I'm gonna make sure that these 2 yarn tails go over the hook as I yarn under and grab the yarn through the loop. And that way it's gonna be sandwiched underneath all of the stitches as I work. Now, if you don't wanna do that, you can just weave it in at the end with a yarn needle. Then I'm gonna make my first single crochet increase. And again, I am going to make my second single crochet increase. I kind of have to wedge in there because it's really stiff being doubled up like that. Okay, so that's my first increase, and now we're going to go into the second stitch. So again, keeping this yarn tail over the hook, it helps to hold it with these 2 fingers. I'm gonna make my second single crochet stitch. You do have to work a lot slower when working double stranded. Okay. Our third increase, so 1 and 2. Fourth. And I can kind of let go of it after you're this far. I'm gonna trim off the excess here in a bit because it's secured down enough. This is our 5th increase. And our last increase. Now we will have 12 single crochet stitches. Okay, wrap the stitch marker around, and round 3 we will single crochet increase all the way around, bringing our stitch count from 12 to 18. So in this one, make your single crochet, then your increase in the next. Single crochet, increase in the next. Single crochet, increase. I say my trick, or one of my tips, is to make sure you're going through both of the loops, because if you're dropping one of the loops, then you'll have a very uneven tension. Okay, single crochet in the next. Increase. Single crochet, increase. This is a really neat technique you could also use when you're making baskets, because it does make the piece a lot more structurally sound, I would say. It's not as like flimsy. Okay. And double check again, make sure that your piece is not being flipped like a bowl away from you. You want to make sure it is being pushed out to the right side. If I'm looking at the wrong side where my shorter yarn tails are, I can now snip them off because they are secured down. And again, you can just weave it in with your yarn needle at the very end. Round 4, single crochet, increase, single crochet all the way around for a stitch count of 24. Okay, so we're going from 18 to 24. So single crochet, increase, single crochet, repeat, single crochet, increase, single crochet, again, single crochet, increase, single crochet, again, single crochet, increase, single crochet, single crochet, increase, making sure you don't drop any of your loops, and single crochet, single crochet, increase, and our last stitch will be a single crochet. We now have 24 stitches. Round 5, make 3 single crochet stitches and increase. We'll do that all the way around, bringing our stitch count up from 24 to 30. 1, go through all the loops. 2, 3, and increase. 1, 2, 3, increase. 1, 2, 3, increase. 1, 2, 3, increase. 1, 2, 3, increase. And our last increment, 1, Oops, see how I lost one of the loops there? Undo it. Two, three, and increase. Don't forget to stretch out those fingers. And this is a good reminder to myself because I'm feeling really stiff. So I have my head right here and I'm just sitting it right on top. This is a good spot to stop and check to make sure that your hat is going to be big enough. If you find that it's like tiny, perhaps you need to size up your hook depending on what kind of yarn you are using. So for rounds 6 through 8, which is 3 rounds total, we're going to single crochet all the way around. So I'm going to let you pause and meet me back once you are finished. We are back, and if you just fit this little top part of the hat over the head, you can see it fits perfectly. It's nice and snug, and when we add the little brim, it'll loosen up this part a tiny bit. It's going to be so perfect. Round 9, we're going to be working in the front loops only, and this is going to create the brim. This way, your piece will go out to the right instead of going straight down. So for this round, let me get my stitch marker. Grab your stitch marker and weave it over so you can keep track of where you started. I'm going to insert my hook in the front loops only of both the beige yarn and the white, and we're going to single crochet, and then we're going to chain 2. This is going to count as your first stitch. Let's double crochet into the same stitch, and that'll make our first double crochet increase. So to do that, yarn over, insert your hook into the front loop only, yarn over again, pull up a loop, and you will have 3 loops on your hook. Then yarn over again, pull through the top 2, then pull yarn over, and then pull through the remaining 2. That's our first double crochet stitch. Then you're going to double crochet increase all the way around, and that's going to create kind of like a wavy looking brim. So I'll do the next one together with you. Yarn over, front loop only, yarn over and pull up a loop. You should have 3, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Again, in the same stitch, insert your hook and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So I'll show you from the bottom side what it looks like, and you're going to have the back loop only remaining, and that's going to allow the brim to flare out like I described in the beginning. Let's do that one more time together. So yarn over, insert in the front loop only, then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, again. All right, and pause the video. Meet me back once you are at the beginning again. Welcome back. So believe it or not, I actually just ran out of my white yarn, so I barely made it. And so normally I would ask you to finish off with both colors, but for my demonstration, and rather than attaching a new strand of yarn and everything and weaving it in, I'm just going to show you with one. So to finish off our brim, we are going to slip stitch into the top of our first double crochet, which was made from chaining in the beginning. And so it'll be this chain right here, counting up from the single crochet, the chain 1 and then chain 2. So I'm going to just slip stitch through and then give myself a little tail to weave in. I am going to weave in the white tail as well on the inside of the hat. But let's go ahead and pull out our stitch marker as well. Boop. Always my favorite part. And look at how cute our little hat is. So you can see the brim is kind of like folding over itself. You can give it a good stretch and manipulate the shape with your fingers. I like to kind of tuck it like this, like if you're making dumplings or something, it's a similar skill. And that way it'll make a nice pretty brim like this. Let's try it on for size. How perfect is that? Let's weave in the ends now. And I'm gonna go just across the brim like so. And then once I've weaved over about 5 to 6 stitches over, And my very last one, I'm gonna pull my yarn all the way. Now for the very last time, I'm gonna pull my yarn through almost all the way with a little loop sticking out like that. And this is the inside of the brim. I'm gonna take a little bit of fabric glue, and here I'm just using UHU. I like using this brand because of the tin container. It just allows you to control the flow. Okay, and then after I add a tiny dab over that, I pull the loop tight, and that will make sure that it doesn't come undone. Now I'm gonna trim off the excess here. And for me, I have to weave in this other yarn tail since I was just barely short. Okay. And again, I'm gonna add a tiny bit of fabric glue right here. I'm gonna cut that short as well. Our hat is complete, and let's go ahead and sew everything together. The first thing that we're going to assemble is our beak. And so I have a little sewing pin here to hold everything in place. I'm going to center it between the eyes, between rounds 10 to 11. And let's go ahead and sew with a longer yarn tail. I'm actually gonna remove this pin. Sewing the facial features in a straight line or relatively close to each other creates like a very chibi effect. It's kind of crazy how different your final piece will look if you just shift it up by 1 round or 2 rounds. So play around with it and see what fits your style the best. A lot of Japanese characters like Hello Kitty are based off of this as well. So you'll notice a lot of Sanrio characters, their eyes and their noses or mouths, if they exist, will be all in a straight line, and the forehead is relatively large. They say this cuteness effect comes from like human psychology of like seeing a baby. And so I guess there's a little science behind it too, of why our brains think this is cuter. It's a little hard to sew and film at the same time. So once I have sewn through, I'm going to weave the yarn tail somewhere out in the back, okay? And just weave around a few times, just like we did when we closed the piece. Excuse me, my phone decided to die halfway through, and now there's a garbage truck doing its thing outside. Okay, so now that we have buried the tail around enough, we're going to tug on it a tight, slight bit and then cut short to the surface once again. And if anything is remaining, just use your tweezers or your scissors to push it into the head. And our beak is finished. Next, we're gonna sew on the wings, and we're gonna sew it in between where our head meets the body. And I'm gonna use some sewing pins to use as a reference guide to make sure that I sew everything on symmetrically. So we're gonna sew each of the wings on between rounds 17 and 18, 12 stitches apart. So that means that I should count 6 stitches this way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this will be our starting point here. I'm going to weave my yarn tail through, thread your needle, okay. And now, holding my body upside down, a little easier to sew that way, we are going to attach one of the wings this way. And make sure that you go through both of the loops. So on this side of the wing and that side when you are sewing. And just to give it a little tug after each time you go through. Okay, so going into the next stitch of the body. Okay. Oops, I lost my tail. Again, going through both layers here. And then one more time. All right, and then one last time. Just want to make sure that this side of the wing is nice and secure. Okay, go ahead and bury your yarn tail into the body a few times. Secure it in place. Let's attach the other wing. So again, count 6 stitches over from the center. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Go through both loops. Go into the next stitch that we came out of, and then go through both loops again. Okay. And one of my biggest tips for sewing on pieces for amigurumi is to be patient with yourself. I feel like we often try to rush through this step, but finishing just as strong as you started is super important. So don't try to rush. If something looks off to you, I guarantee you that you'll feel better about your project if you just take a couple extra minutes to undo it and to try again. Every single time that we are attaching pieces, we're practicing and we're getting better at it. And I definitely know that using the right tools makes a big difference. I absolutely loathe plastic sewing needles, and so I stay away from them because they're just not strong enough. If you want to sew very precisely when working with really tight stitches like this, metal is the only way to go. This is a bent tip needle as well, and it kind of helps with some of the angles. And I'm just going to weave my tail out where my other one ended up going, right in the front. And to secure the wings in place, we're going to tie the yarn tails in a knot, and then another knot, double knot it. Okay, and then let's cut the tails short. I like to use these tweezers to get into the fine little spaces, but go ahead and hide those in the body. We're going to keep these guide markers here to sew on the feet. Sew each foot onto the body, spanning rounds 22 to 24 of the body, 4 stitches apart. So remember that the head and the neck were round 17 and 18, so I can just count down from there, 19, 20, 21, 22. So this is going to be the top of the foot where it shows up. Okay, position it in place. If I'm using my guide here, this will be 1, 2 stitches from the bottom toe, and then the other foot can be secured 2 stitches away there. All right, before I sew, I just want to make sure everything looks good. Rotate your piece, make sure that you're using other things to make sure things are symmetrical. So for instance, I'm using the side of the wing to make sure that the other side is similar, and we're looking great. My thumb, and when I'm sewing, I'm not going around the edges like this, like you're whip stitching. I'm kind of sewing across the surface in between the stitches. Okay. If you whip stitch on the outside, then of course your toes are going to look a little bit messy since this is such a small surface area that we're working on. So now I can remove my pin here, and again, go through underneath the V when you're sewing. Don't tug too tightly here. Just the right amount of pressure is perfect. You don't want your piece to pucker, in other words. Okay, and I'm just going through each toe about once or twice. Depends on how the yarn wants to lay. Okay. All right, now I'm gonna bury this out a little bit further here. With the shorter yarn tail, let's weave that out the same hole. Double knot it once again. Cut it tight. Hide the yarn tails. I'll be sure to include a full list of my materials in the description. And with that, one of our feet is complete. Do the same thing for the other side and meet me back when you are done. Gertrude, the grumpy chick, is not complete without her eyebrows, and so let's cut a generous amount of black embroidery thread and complete her look. I'm going to use my needle here. We're going to enter in from anywhere on the side and just weave one round above where her eye is. It's so funny how tiny little details like this make all the world of a difference when you are crocheting. And so make sure you leave a little tail, maybe 2-3 inches long, because we're going to need that to secure everything in place. We're going to go diagonal across one stitch here, and then we're going to weave out on the other side to make the other eyebrow. So let's make them about 4 stitches apart. Now we're going to pull that slightly, and then go ahead and make the other eyebrow diagonally across the other eye. Weave our needle out where we came in from, and double check to make sure that you like the placement of everything. Okay, now we're going to tie the 2 tail ends in a knot so that everything stays secure. All right, cut the tails short and bury the remaining tail. And there we have it. Gertrude the Grumpy Chick is complete. Now for the finishing touch, she's got to have her gardening hat. Now this next step is optional, but I like to add a tiny little dab of blush, shake off the excess, and we can slowly build the color. The blush eventually does fade away if it's going to be handled or played with, but mine is just going to be purely decorative, and so that's why I don't mind adding it. I think it makes a world of a difference in making your amigurumi look complete. She's blushing from getting herself all worked up, right? I'm going to feather out the ends a tiny bit. And with that, Gertrude the Grumpy Chick is complete. Thank you for crocheting along with me and making my cute little grumpy chick. If you liked this tutorial, be sure to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what kinds of tutorials you'd like to see in the future. Enjoy, and see you again soon.